And now the end is near. And so Mark faces the final curtain. My friend, I'll say it clear. I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. He's lived a life that's full. He's travelled each and every junction of the M62. But more, much more than this, he did it his way with a little help from John Wilkin. Regrets? He's had a few. The failed modelling career, not putting a ring on Michelle Keegan, signing for Salford in the first place. But look at him now. He's loved, he's laughed, he's cried. He's had his fill, his share of losing. And now, as tears subside, the misfits find it all so amusing. The record shows he took the blows, gave a few as well, and did it Mark's way. I couldn't do the whole song because we didn't have time, but bit of Frank Sinatra in the dressing room before Old Trafford. Ian Watson, you having that?
Could do, couldn't we?
See, we just go with Flash, mate. He tells us what he wants.
He doesn't know, does he? Does he? No, you don't tell him anything. Can we just clear this up? I tried to clear this up with Lee last week. As the coach is here, I know this is a little bit awkward for you, Mark.
Good time, yeah.
Mark told me, as a close friend of his a few years ago,
no. I know what you're going to say.
Going to be captain next season.
I said we were co-captains.
He's getting nervous. He's twitching. This is what he does.
Co-captains.
Is it fair to say Lee is more of the captain than Mark, percentage-wise?
I've heard this before with these two all the time, always bartering who wants to toss the coin and stuff like that. Flash likes it, because he's had a modelling career like you alluded to before. Yeah. So he likes to go out there, get his picture took before the game because he's always looking good.
That's what it was about.
Moose is not bothered, so he stays in the changing room, so he just leads on the field. Flash does all the glamour stuff.
But I don't get invited to these press conferences. It's like, is Lee available? And then if Lee's not available, it's Gil. Or it's Tyke, or it's Jake Bibby. And
you're always
only
because
I'm on this. Created my own spotlight. Because I'm not invited in anyone else's.
Who would have thunk it, though, that, beginning of the season, even Mark, when we go back to last season, that Mark Flanagan's going to be in the grand final, probably winning it as a half-back again. John Wilkins back in Super League. And he's probably going to have to eat a double dick sandwich as well as a hat, because I don't know if Ian Gill, if you heard this, he's been very, what would you say, Mark? Very condescending towards
I don't think
Salford.
he was. He was just
well, at the beginning
realistic.
he was. At the beginning he was.
You said you'd have my name tattooed on your body if we won the grand final.
If you win the grand final, yeah.
So that's some motivation.
Where are we having the tattoo?
Probably the sole of my foot. That's quite painful there, actually, isn't it? I'm not sure. I have to think about it. I might have MF.
Gil knows all about tattoos.
Gil got a lot of tattoos,
I'd imagine that's quite a painful spot,
yeah. Well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But firstly, John Wilkin has to eat a hat. So I was thinking of sort of a Mexican sombrero, a Chinese rice-picking hat.
Leather.
A conical, is that what they're called?
Leather
hat. Russian fur soldier's hat.
Beef eater.
If anyone had told you, Ian, be honest with me, and I know you've been asked this question a million times, but I'm going to ask it in the same way, but a different way. If I had said to you in February that you'd be in the grand final and one of your players would be Man of Steel, you would have laughed me out of the park. Come on.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd be in a grand final in February. I had a confidence in the group that they were more than good enough to make a position in the playoffs and then see where that took us from there. It was something that myself and Martin Gleeson spoke quite a lot about in the off-season, in knowing kind of what players we had and what we'd kind of built as a group. The big thing for us is when we're laughing about kind of the captaincy, we've tried to bring winners in, competitors who want to compete and want to win stuff. So when people are talking about that we should just be focusing on finishing above London, that hurts, and that rattles a few of the guys who are genuine winners and genuine competitors, which people like Gil, Flash, Moose, they are genuine winners and they want to win things as well. And it hurts people a lot when people start saying negative comments about them, and they'll then lift standards and they'll drag other players along with them as well. And that's kind of what our group's been built on. It's been built on a group of players who are accountable to each other, but standards are driven by the bigger guys in the club and the leaders in the club.
That definitely played a part, Gil, didn't it? I was watching you were like a truffle pig at the DW Stadium, and it was interesting because on Sky's coverage before they went through all the Wigan stars. They even had ex-Wigan stars, and there was you, there was Lee Mossop, there was Greg Burke, and Phil Clark went through the ball and went, yeah, and Gil spent this, and then Mark Flanagan as well.
I only played 11 games when I was 19.
I know, but that's what they did. You haven't seen them; they moved on very quickly. But that must have been for I don't know if was that a motivation for you going there. Certainly for Lee and for you. You guys were up for that game like never before.
Yeah, definitely. I left a while ago now. It's 6 years ago. Well, no, 5 years ago I think I left. and it was a case of I was told I was leaving. So, you know, at the time, it's, you know, like what I've said, it kind of gives you like, all right, okay. So every time I've played them since, you know, I've always kind of gone there with a point to prove. And, you know, I like to think that we managed to do that on Friday.
We've had a lot of players who've had points to prove, whether it's, you know, yourself, me at Saints, you know, Lee with his injury problems with his shoulders. A lot of people thought he'd never play again, or, you know, he was past his best because of all his shoulder issues. We've got a team full of lads who've got points to prove, and I think, you know, when that becomes a powerful thing when you're all going towards a common goal, and, you know, when we're so hard working and we reinforce, you know, those attitude aspects of the game, that, you know, kick chase, tying in from the inside, all the stuff that people don't see. When you've got a point to prove, it kind of spurs you on a little bit. And, you know, Phil Clark's probably had a bit to say in the press these last few weeks that has given us, you know, a couple of percent.
Was that motivation, Phil Clark? He's coming for a bit of shit recently, isn't he?
Yeah, I think the comment he made, you know, I don't know whether it was a bit offhand or kind of who it was directed at personally, but I know when I got told it, I didn't laugh.
What? Which part? The misfit part? But
No,
you
no,
are
no.
in the
No, the championship
Oh,
players.
okay, the championship.
Yeah, so
but you are misfits in the nicest way.
I love the
aren't you?
misfits. Yeah, that's brilliant. That
You're a
sums
good band,
us up
weren't
to a
they?
T.
Were they a band?
The misfits.
Yeah.
They should be.
A heavy rock
Yeah,
band.
There you go.
we
You
were,
like
yeah.
heavy rock band?
You three.
Yeah, we could be, yeah.
What are you playing?
Tambourine.
I've got to be lead singer, haven't I?
Oh, front man here. Come on.
Told you.
Go on, but the championship, that dug deep,
Yeah,
did it?
yeah, definitely. You know, that hurt. Especially, you know, getting relegated last year. I
Yeah.
thought that's where I was going to be playing my trade.
Yeah.
You know, and then to come back and to get to where we were and still have no respect from people from the outside. You know, like you say, it kind of give us that extra motivation that.
Well, that's good, isn't it? It's
Yeah,
working.
definitely.
I can see in your eyes.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
working.
He's a bit scared, though, aren't you?
I'm not scared.
Charles Bronson over there.
We've already we've broke our virginity haven't we,
Yeah,
before we
me
had
and Will have had
night
a
out.
couple of shandies together,
Didn't
haven't
we?
we? We had a
Nice
good
little
time,
night,
didn't we?
wasn't it? Don't tell Ian about that. More than a couple of shandies.
A few waters.
We went on for a few
Few
days.
waters,
Few
yeah.
wines.
Ian, you and last time you won't remember this, but last time I met you was a long time ago. I came to interview you. I think I was working for Radio Manchester, and you were a player at Salford City Reds, as they were back then. We're going to get onto this, but forget the talk of winning the grand final. Just to get here and to be here, to be at this press conference with the trophy behind you now. Where does this rank in your playing career and your coach career? Is this at the ultimate top?
Yeah, I think this is at the top of my career. And again, it's from the people who you're doing it with. I've said this in numerous interviews now that this is the best group of players I've had to work with in terms of kind of coaching as well. But also when you look at it from a player, I've been fortunate to play in some teams where you've had a really, really good spirit. And that's what we've tried to build at Salford. Because when you're mates, you work harder for each other and you're willing to look over certain things and you'll cover for them. And you really have an attitude that you don't want to let each other down. And that's the big thing for us. And we've got that within our backroom staff as well. So like our head S&C, our head physio. And like I said, we've only got a group of 6, but we're all on the same page there. And we all make sure that we know that we're there to work for the players. And
have you been lucky with that in a certain degree? Or was it completely calculated? Or have you actually, some of those guys landed on your laps and it's all come together?
Some of them were already there. There was 2 of them that was already there, which was my head physio and the massage therapist, which was Sarah. They were already there.
I mean, with the players as well, though, the fact that, you know, the whole story.
Oh, no, I'll be honest, I've manufactured them.
Yeah.
He was one of the first ones we went after. We've got a mutual friend, Wes Rogers.
Shout out to Wes.
Yeah, big Wes from Chad.
Chadderton.
Yeah.
Chadderton massive, isn't it?
Yeah. He was big mates of mine growing up, and he was a player when he was younger that he was supposed to be the next best thing. He was big mates with Scully, and him and Scully were the next best things. He got an injury, but as we was coming through our careers, he used to always talk to me about Flash, and so I kind of knew what Flash was about in terms of a guy off the field and a guy on the field as well. And Tim Sheens came to our club, and Flash became available that year, and asked him to go and sign him. So Tim went after him, and then Tim come back and said, he's a little bit expensive, mate. Do we still want him?
Drive a hard bargain.
Bit tight, isn't he?
So I actually said, yeah, let's just get him there. But he's trying to cost us more money all the time, Flash, so we should have said probably no.
But that fascinates me, because Lee told us about this concept last week, didn't he, of the conversation that you had with Lee, knowing that his shoulder at the time was made of polystyrene.
Yep.
And you took that risk because of the guy that he is, and knowing that you could get him fit, and a fit Lee Mosser is one of the best in his position, isn't he?
Yeah, he's an international front row. to be fair. He was playing international football before he got injured, so you knew he had all that ability about him. His was about getting him back to his best, and I had the confidence in our physio department that they could do that. And our S&C, the guy who I brought in, again, I had to go out and get him. So like Flash, we went out and got him. I went out and got GB.
It's like a money ball type thing, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of it is. Myself and the analyst who we've just lost to Blackburn, actually, we'd come up with a little bit of a system where we tagged players throughout the weeks and he'd cut them up for me if they were hitting certain markers. That's what I look at. A lot of it was off the ball stuff. If they had the ability, that was fine, but they had to have a work ethic about them. So we'd look at that, and then he'd come to me and say, look, he's hitting these parameters. You might want to have a little look at him. And then I'd get clips of him, look at him, and then I'd go and watch him live from there. But and that's what we've done with most of the players. But they've got to fit with our group. They've got to fit with the mentality of what we're about.
Was that like for you, Gil, as well? Did Watson come headhunting you? What was the conversation? What do you remember? How different was it to, for
Watson's
example...
nodding, looking at Gil like, yeah, I wanted you.
Well, I tried not to phone him, actually, at first. I thought he'd be pretty straightforward because he was at Widnes and they were going into the Championship. Yeah. So I thought he'd jump onto us. But he made it harder than it should have been.
Good lad.
A bit like Mark, yeah.
Started arguing about the money.
We're smart.
What's great about this story as well, Ian, is that you're a Salford boy. You were born in Salford, weren't you?
Yeah.
Salford through and through. You know exactly what this club is about, the days that you spent at the Willows and you know the history of this club, which not a lot of the younger players will necessarily know or have to know. This means so much to you personally, doesn't it? To be here, to be playing at Old Trafford. I mean, how far, as the crow flies, is the Willows from here? A couple of miles?
Yeah, well, my dad used to bring me here to obviously watch like Brian Robson and Mark Hughes play for United as well, but I don't look at it as a personal thing.
You don't. We do, because it fits the narrative. It's a great story.
Yeah, for me, it's my job. It's what I love doing, and I like being a part of a group and working with them. Although, you have to make tough decisions, obviously, which some people don't agree with sometimes. That's just part of your job, but I love doing what I do, so I don't see it as a personal thing. I see it as that we're there and our backroom staff are there to try and help these be as good as what they can be, and that's in whatever avenue they need us to do that.
But Gil, this is unbelievable, really, when you think that in the history of Super League from 1998, let's say, only 8 teams have contested the grand final. Only how many teams, Mark, have won it?
4.
Can you name them?
Bradford, Wigan, St Helens, Leeds.
Correct, just checking he's still there, because he sometimes shuts down, Mark, doesn't he?
He's only come into this game a couple of years ago, so don't start
his eyes
schooling
look like
me,
he's still there,
man.
doesn't he? And he just sort of, have you noticed that, Ian? He sort of shuts down a
I
little
do it
bit.
in his meetings.
Like an old
Yeah,
compact
he does.
computer, makes that
Doesn't
noise.
like long meetings, Flash. He doesn't like him at all. You keep letting us know.
Too much of
We've
this.
got some of the good pros like Lee Mossop, proper captain.
Yeah, there he goes.
He wants it, yeah. he can handle a bit of a longish meeting. Flash, concentration's gone. Look, if there's a camera there taking a picture, he's good.
He's going to be sulking tomorrow now, Mark.
Gil, get nice and deep with me. Not in that way, but we've. I want you to just, for people listening, people watching, just tell them that this is not a story that's about 2 teams playing for that bit of silverware, which it has probably been in the past. All right, everyone's got their own personal stories going into it.
Yeah.
But given the whole David and Goliath thing, which you guys won't think because you'll think you'll have a real shot at this. This is about hope. This is about so many more things to people watching and to get people in these seats on Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. I think what I'll mention, it's something that the lower teams down the table, us getting here gives them a bit of inspiration. They can get there as well. Like what I've said, we've got a small squad, we've got small resources, we've got small backroom staff, but things have kind of fell the right way for us this year. And the bunch of misfits, will be walking out there on Saturday.
I want everyone down here. I want Sir Alex Ferguson down here. I want Cantona. I want the class of '92. They should be coming out the wings, shouldn't they? I mean, tell me why Beckham's not here Saturday. Let's get him here.
He's got better things to do.
Why he should be here? He's basically a Salford boy. Lived there most of his life. They shouldn't. This should play into that whole story. Salford is a city. People forget that as well. Yeah. Don't they? We always think it's a little part of
230,000 population.
Yeah, but people do that. Outside, just think it's a little part of Manchester outside Manchester. It's its own city. It's a proud city. It's got great heritage, great pedigree. This place should be representing that on Saturday, and that's what you guys have done all season to that group of fans who've been slagged off by John Wilkin all year. When 2,000 of them turned up every week last season, that's grown and grown and grown. Yeah. This is a chance for you guys now. I mean, the AJ Bell should be rocking, win or lose, on Saturday at the start of next season, shouldn't it?
Yeah, that's what we hope. We hope, obviously, this is...
it's a legacy.
And it energises people to come and support Salford. So, at the moment, Man United are not doing so great at the moment. Maybe there's a few disillusion there. They might want to come and watch Salford. There's a difference in level of athlete playing rugby league to the playing football or rugby union. It's a different sport. It's a different kind of action-packed encounter that you get as well. And once you come and watch it once, you're hooked on it. So ideally, we'd love to have that down here where it's a bit of a humdinger of a game this weekend. We come out on top and we get more supporters for next year.
That's the word of the show, humdinger.
Humdinger.
Love that.
I like one, Flash.
Sums up Gil, that, doesn't it? Humdinger.
What a humdinger.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a great
It's
thing.
a great
That's
thing.
okay.
He's very sensitive, Gil, though, isn't he? He's very sensitive. Gives off this. You get scratch a little bit beneath the surface. He's like, "What? What are you saying?
What?
What are you saying about me?"
Oh, no.
If that vein comes out there.
Gil, this would be one of the greatest sporting shocks.
Yeah,
Wouldn't it?
yeah, massively. You know, Saints, I think was it record points they've won the league by this year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we just beat off relegation last season. You know, to come full circle and potentially beat them in the final. I don't know of many sporting stories bigger than that, really.
It's cool runnings. You're John Candy, aren't you?
Yeah, I know who Sanker is.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Can we get some sort of, I don't know, while the coach is here, some sort of Roman Abramovich style incentive? You know, like when he wants this team to win a final, it's like, oh, it's all well and good to talk about
Just
half.
$500,000 in it. You win. Yeah.
It's a great shot. That's all you got for us.
Mate, you'll see
Few
Bleezy's
beers
over
at
there
the season
somewhere,
for
won't
us.
you? Might
Good.
get one, you Flash.
You
Yeah.
Just finally then, before we let you guys go, because this is such a week for you guys. Emotionally, it's hard, I guess, not to get caught up in it all, and you've got to just treat it as another game, even though, as I said to Lomax and Kevin just a minute ago, it's not that. We all know it's not that, but that's what you have to do. Just tell the Salford fans what you want from them on Saturday.
Oh, we just want them to get down here in numbers. I know they're all buying tickets at the moment. The AJ Bell was flooded yesterday with people purchasing tickets. I know online they've been buying loads. We just want them to get really behind us here, make this just a massive venue of noise and what they've done in the last couple of games as well. But hopefully have another 30,000 of them cheering us on to a win.
Well, look, best of luck to all of you guys. It's going to be a fascinating game. Mark, I might pull your shorts down in the warm-up or something. And
Yeah, you'll probably get a slap.
John Wilkin got a slap, actually, on that
was
Saturday.
funny,
didn't he?
Didn't it? We were all talking about that.
Yeah, that
Lovely,
Cameron
and
King.
didn't react.
Yeah.
Very unlike John Wilkin, wasn't it?
Barry McDermott was buzzing for him. They didn't react.
I could see how hard it was for him not to react. But who was it who slapped him, by the way?
Cameron King it was, wasn't it?
Good on Cameron.
Scared of
Congratulations
Cameron
to
King.
Yeah.
Guys, have a great game. Best of luck. Best team
Cheers.
win. Let's hope. But I don't care. I'm going to say I hope Salford win it because Mark's my friend.
Yeah.
And you, Gil.
And you want a new tattoo?
I don't want a new tattoo on the sole of my foot. But I hope you guys get your hands on that. What a story that would be. Go for it. Give it everything you got.
Cheers, buddy.
Brilliant. Cheers, thank you.
Mark, look who we are joined by. These sexy little beasts, Jonny Lomax and Kevin Naiqama. What are you laughing at, Kevin? Don't see yourself as a sexy
Nah,
little beast?
not me.
No?
It's a sexy haircut, isn't it?
Very sexy haircut. Quite a haircut, isn't it? Isn't it just?
And Johnny's.
That's a bit sharper today, isn't it?
Johnny, there's something we need to get to the bottom of first. We've been meaning to ask you this for 2 years.
I don't know.
Is your sister the St Helens mascot?
No,
No. Ever? Has she ever been the St Helens mascot?
potentially.
Because John Wilkins,
Wilkins started this.
Yeah, potentially.
Can you put an
no,
end to
she used to come and watch the games all the time, like
Yeah.
just from, well, probably since even when I was playing amateur, she used to come and watch the game, obviously with my mum and dad, and then decided, well, I'm going to be watching the game.
Might as well watch for free.
Might as well watch for free and get paid.
Yeah, there you go.
So, yeah. But no, she's retired from it now. She's done the time. She's got a few more hours at work, so she's given it up.
Right.
How you guys feeling? Big days, isn't this, Kevin?
Yeah,
This is what you came for, mate. This is what you came
that's
over.
it. No, definitely excited. When you play football, this is what you want to achieve. You want to be part of these big games, and definitely very excited for the week, the build up, and just embracing it all. Just to be here at Old Trafford is the first time I've ever been here. So
Mate, look, the trophy's there behind you.
I know it's so close.
Fancy your hands on that? Mark,
It is
Not
so
yet.
close.
Oh, he
Wait
switched
till
it as
Saturday.
well.
Oh, is that bad luck?
I
I'm
don't
not
know. It could be.
Johnny, am I right in saying that you've been at Saints? I think you signed your professional contract, first professional contract, 10 years ago. But you've only played in one grand final. I know there was injuries, there was other situations. Is that right?
No, played in two grand finals,
So I got it
and
wrong.
then missed 2014
Okay.
because of a
When Mark
ACL injury.
played halfback.
Yeah.
Which I don't like to talk
killed
about.
it.
Yes, I did.
Kicking game was on point.
How? Just explain then to Kevin what he's in for on Saturday.
Obviously, kind of already touched on it, and he's kind of said it himself. It's exciting time, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's what you've look forward to. It's what you've dreamt of from being a young lad to be involved in these big games. And you know, I think with that brings about a nervous energy, but you've got to try and enjoy it too, and enjoy the whole week, because it is a different feel to it. And obviously when you step out there on Saturday, it's going to be loud. It's really loud. I think one thing, obviously I'd never played at Wembley until this year, but a big thing that stood out in the difference between the two is the horns. The horns are pretty loud, that people seem to acquire from outside the ground. So yeah, it's electric when you start the warm-up, and it takes a bit of adapting to. You can be talking normally and you just can't hear each other. So
that must be difficult though, because I mean it's like a derby for you guys, isn't it? Is it louder than a derby?
Yeah, definitely, and you know it's extra hard for myself because I've already got that extra bit of padding over my ears, so you know I can't hear so well.
Why
so
do you wear a scrum cap?
I'm asking
It's actually quite a serious story, Mark. Because Wilkins taking the piss
He
out.
really
of
likes talking about it as well.
I don't like talking about
Can we do it in a nutshell?
You had a bad accident, didn't you, when you were playing as a kid?
Yeah, did have quite a bad one. At first, thought I was all right, really, and I had a clash of heads, got up, bit dizzy, had a bit of a bout of spewing, being a bit sick, and had a day off school the next day, and then went back in on the Friday, got told off for not listening. Then Saturday rolled around, Sunday I just had banging headache all throughout the days, really, and just kept getting worse and worse, and eventually got rushed to hospital in blue light ambulance. Don't really remember any of it, and kind of I'd passed out. And to be honest, it was something that hadn't been spoken about by my family, because I think it was a bit upsetting for them until this year, really, with it being 10 years, and kind of learnt a few things. That obviously I got rushed to hospital, got a quick scan. My mum, being a nurse, was adamant that it was a bleed. They said that a slow bleed isn't normally a 5-day kind of period, so they said they'd go with it, the registrar there, and they got a quick scan, and then I was off over 12 days. I was having a bleed, and then went for the surgery, and kind of, again, only just finding out. My mum and dad were told that it was touch and go, really. It was 50-50, and They don't know what quality of life it could be if I got through it. So for them, obviously, it was a pretty scary time, and something that probably me, just being a young lad wanting to play rugby again, didn't understand what they were going through, and the emotions that they went through with me getting back playing, and probably something that I've only just learned with the birth of my own son. So yeah, it was pretty deep, that, wasn't it?
It was
deep. I don't know why Wilkin found that so funny.
Yeah,
that story.
it was a pretty scary time for them.
Yeah.
Found out that I was in surgery for 9 hours as well, and obviously that entire time they were just kind of playing the waiting game and not knowing what kind of outcome they were going to get.
Bloody hell! Have you worn it every game since then?
Yeah, definitely.
Training as well.
Training depends what level of contact. If we're having to ramp up right to the top, obviously I'll put it on then. Obviously there's kind of mixed reviews on them, but
it's become part of you, isn't it? I'm just thinking.
Yeah, it's a bit of.
I'm thinking a football comparison with Petr Cech when he had that nasty accident, and psychologically he talked about the fact that it felt part of his uniform, and he felt naked without it after a while.
Yeah, well, I'll be honest, it's quite good not wearing it in training. You know, it's a lot cooler. But yeah, it's just something that I got used to, really, and like you said, it kind of becomes a bit of how you're seen, isn't it? A bit of a trademark. But yeah, basically the surgeon. Obviously with me wanting to play again, he wasn't happy with me really going back, and then as I improved, it was a 2-year period and then a year period, providing I wore my head guard. So
can we not cash in here and get it sponsored and get some sort of
don't you have, the charity or the hospital that helps you?
True Rehab on the head guard, which is a brain injury awareness organisation, kind of, you know, probably again through getting a bit older and a bit more educated in what could have been the outcome. You know, it's probably my way of probably trying to raise awareness for such a good organisation.
Kevin doesn't need it, does he? Because you take about 10 Mark Flanagans to get to his head through that hair.
It's quite spongy.
Little touch, Mark's having a little touch for those not watching on YouTube. Yeah. Kevin, Jonny touched on it there, nervous energy. Explain what that is to people like me who've never got anywhere near playing on a pitch like that in a game like this.
No, nervous. Obviously, it's a big occasion, and it's good nerves. I think if you don't have them, then you obviously don't have the passion for the game. And for me, it's sort of exciting as well at the same time. Obviously nervous the lead up to it. Obviously during the warm up, and obviously you're playing the game in your head like what you want to do. But once the ball's kicked off, you sort of just block out everything that's going on outside, and you sort of fall into what you know and what you do best. And that's what I'm definitely excited for. I've seen the build up all year towards this moment, and it's pretty surreal for myself to sort of be a part of this and be playing in such a big game as this. So, like I said, it's exciting nerves, and it's good nerves to have leading into the game.
There's a great dynamic to this whole story. I mean, look, it could have been Wigan Saints. We've seen that before. It would have been great. But with Salford and everything that they've been through, do you guys feel like the baddies in this story?
No, I don't know about that. I think
It's a bit like Mighty Ducks, the bad. No one wants you. You're like the Manchester United that everyone hates.
He says while sat in Old Trafford.
City fan. No.
I think, I think Salford have been wrongly portrayed in the media, if I'm honest. If you look at their 1-17, they're a quality side, and I think from what some people have seen them as in the media, definitely doesn't marry up with what opposition teams think of Salford. They're a quality side. If you look at the 1-17, they're as good as anyone in the comp. And
You say that now. Are you saying that in February?
no, they're littered with NRL experience, and I'm not just talking about the boys that have come from the other side of the world. You've got your Flash, Tyrone McCarthy, Lee Mossop as well. And in amongst that, you've got people with grand final experience and grand final winners. So kind of, I think, I'll stand by what I said. No, I thought exactly the same in February, and I think that's been shown when in the big games that we've had with Salford ourselves, and then playing against Warrington and Wigan. We saw it again the other day that they're a quality outfit, and I think that the tag that they've been given is a load of rubbish, basically.
You've got Phil Clark to thank for this as well. He's got them fired up. Wigan's Phil Clark is actually not helping St Helens.
Yeah, well, again, it's kind of, if you're caught up in and you're listening to that kind of stuff, fair enough. But again, we know what we believe, and we know what we how dangerous a side Salford are, and have been for a long time, because we've had some real big battles with them for a few years now. And in some of them we've just managed to come out on top.
And rugby players have a different perspective to maybe the pundits or fans viewing it at home. We kind of scrutinise performances, and we'll know each player playing for Saints, and we'll know their strengths and weaknesses. And it's quite flattering that the Saints boys are saying that they consider us a real threat. But I think when you're in the game, you notice things that perhaps pundits like Phil probably don't notice, and they probably go off reputation of Salford over the last 10, 20 years when we're perceived to be a lesser team. But, I think Jonny's right. We deserve to be there on Saturday. And, we've had some great battles with Saints over the last couple of years. And, I reckon it's such an evenly matched game. And I think it'll be, a great spectacle.
I mean, it's amazing, really, that you have to go back to your grand final. Say your grand final. It was
my game.
Yeah. In 2014, the last time Saints were here in a grand final, and then obviously you throw in what happened in the Challenge Cup final against Warrington. You guys have played some unbelievable rugby over those years. I'm looking more at Jonny because Kevin, you're newer to the scene, but some unbelievable rugby, and then it's ended up with nothing, which has got to make you hungrier, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think we've heard a few people say it as well. At the end of the day, everyone sets out with the same goal when they go back to pre-season in November, and that's regardless of what happens on Saturday. That's going to be the same goal again come when November rolls around in a month's time.
but Jonny, it must be excruciating to go when you put so much on the line and you end up with nothing. When everyone's telling you deserve it because overall you've been the best team.
Well. Yeah, and I think it is regardless of what's happened through the year. Anyone who puts himself in a position to be in a final, that hurt, you definitely feel it, and it does stay with you because you want, that's what you dream about. It's not something that you've just set out from beginning the pre-season. It's something you've dreamt about as a kid when you're running around in the garden and stuff like that. So it does definitely hurt, and I think with them moments though, you've got to try and learn from them. If you can sit down and start feeling sorry for yourself, or you can try and learn, and that's what it's been about for us. We've been trying to learn, and we managed to go one better in the Challenge Cup, and we're at the end of the day we're all on a journey. Like you say, you touched on Salford with their journey, but equally we're on a similar one. Yeah. Salford have found themselves in a position that like you said we've not been in for a few years now as well. So.
And I don't know, Kevin, how much you know about the history of Saints. This isn't a test, or maybe it is a test. No, but between 2006 and 2011, they contested 6 finals on the trot without winning one of them, which is, well, I mean, we got Wilkin to blame for a lot of that. But I mean, that is astonishing, really, in any sport, to come to the showpiece and to lose that many. It's like Buffalo Bills, I think, did it in the NFL for 5 Super Bowls or something crazy. To do that and to come away with nothing. I mean, it's a huge club that you've come to, and you know how much that they expect to win silverware, don't you? You must have got that feeling as soon as you landed of what you've come into.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I knew coming into St. Helens' team was the rich history it had behind it, the culture, and how much they love their rugby league. It's a rugby league town, and for me personally and my wife moving over here, it definitely made it a lot easier settling in. From the players to the coaching staff to the community of St. Helens have been so welcoming, and it's definitely made it a lot more enjoyable. But what you said with that, like that's what St. Helens. When you hear about St. Helens in Australia, you know that they're always a team that's in those big games, a team that's very successful, that's tasted a lot of success, but also through that period, like being in big games, but sort of came up empty-handed. And you could say I'd sort of tasted that in the Challenge Cup. That build up to playing in a big game, and sort of walking away with looking at ourselves, seeing St. Helens lifting that trophy. And like you said, what Jonny said, you sort of learn through that, and that's what we have. We learn through what we go through. Even in our wins, there's still a lot that we can take away that we still feel as a playing group that we're not hitting the nail on the head with. And that's what's good. That's what drives us every week. We use that as motivation. We use that as a place to grow. And every week we're just trying to get better. And, it's no different this week. And like you said, it's a big occasion. But at the end of the day, all we can do is what we can control, and that's on the footy field.
There's definitely a cliche in sport, isn't there, and you hear coaches, and I know you guys will say it as well, and it's kind of what you're trained and what you're hearing on the training ground to say, it's just another game, we've got to treat it like another game. We all know that's not true. It's not another game, isn't it? I mean, you can't think like that, I understand that. But how hard is it, because you touched on it earlier, Jonny, about coming and seeing the fireworks and hearing the noise and all that sort of stuff, just to stay completely away from it? Do you have to take your mind completely away from that to be successful on the day?
I think it's hard on obviously the day to do that, but through the week he's just trying to stay as relaxed as possible, and just keep everything as normal as possible as well. Whether that be through your preparation, whether it be just going for a little walk, clear your head, no matter what it is, it's kind of just...
Do you have any little things that you do particularly?
Jonny's got a really good routine before a game. He taps his boots about 50 times.
Wilkin to mention this. Yeah, go
It's
on.
relaxed now. No, it's gone.
Is he gone?
It's
He used to sit against
That
the wall.
nervous
Like,
twitch.
dun, dun, dun.
Does that be like Flash's twitch on his face?
Oh,
Yeah. Can we zoom in on that?
Still there, isn't it? Imagine what we're doing on Saturday.
Oh, shut up.
When he's on that bike, that interchange bike, he'll be looking like Wiggins on MDMA. So take that bit out. Or maybe we won't, Kevin. But go on, touch on that game day feeling. Why are you laughing, Mark?
Just on game day, just like I say, I just try and sleep for as long as possible, which has become a bit harder now, like I said, with the little one. So just sleep for as long as possible and just try and not think about it. Just do my best to stay away from it as much as possible.
I find it's a balancing act. I think you have to be composed on your job, so it's the same routine for every game in terms of what your job is and the role, but then you've got to embrace the atmosphere and the feeling and the importance of the game to spur you on to make extra efforts. I think you can't rely on the atmosphere to spur you through, because you need that composure, but I think when the going gets tough, that's when you draw on the magnitude of the game and how important it is, and that can give you an extra 5-10% when you're really down and you're looking at a match. And I think, but either team will have to do that on Saturday to get the win.
I mean, you all know each other really well as players in terms of your own squads, but you must learn a lot about each other on those sort of days. All we see as the idiots on the outside, the footage inside the dressing room on a match day, and that's the only kind of insight we get inside that dressing room. But you must learn about how you get each other to tick, get each other going on a day like that. Because people will react differently, I imagine. You're not all the same, are you, on a game like that?
Yeah, for sure. There's actually some moments in the game as a player that I sort of don't see that players do, individual efforts that sort of don't get acknowledged in the highlight reel. That when we come to as a team, like efforts that Jonny does off the screen. When someone makes a break, he may not get the accolades, but he's always in the picture. He's someone that's always around the ball, both defensively and in attack as well. And for me, like that highlights the player that he is. And he's a team player, and he does a lot of stuff out of 40 that he prepares himself mentally and physically to get him as right as he can before a game. And there's Jonny, and there's a lot of other players in the team that do stuff that I'm like, wow, like I didn't see that in the game, but when the coach highlights that, it highlights the team that the players are working hard and doing stuff. And ultimately, that's all we want to do. We're trying to work hard we know that when we work hard together, the result takes care of itself.
It's weird to think you're a veteran of this team now, Jonny, really,
How
aren't you,
old
when
are
you look at
27.
29.
He's
Just turned
29.
yeah.
But so I think eight of the match day squad from the 2014 grand final are still with you.
Yeah.
Is that crucial to have those guys who've been there and done it and have got that experience?
I think it definitely does help to have experience, and that's why I obviously touched on Salford squad as well, because there's grand final experience within that squad as well. And I think it does help to have had people that have been there and even just to kind of tee people up on what the occasion's going to be like. Kind of once the whistle goes out, like flashes, there's things kind of go out the window a bit, and you're kind of just running on the energy that's being provided by the crowd. So I think probably having a few of the lads that have been there, it can just settle everyone down, just give everyone a minute, and I think that's sometimes key in these big games.
What's Justin like on days like this? No, I mean, not days that you won't know, Kevin, but what's he been like in the build-up to this? How relaxed is he? He seems like kind of quite unmovable character, unshakable character.
Yeah, no, he's been great. Him and the coaching staff, they've been a big part of where we are today. But he's very calm-headed coach. He definitely got a good knowledge for the game and understanding for the game. And for this week, like everyone's sort of saying, like we're trying to do this for Justin, but the person that he is, all he wants to do is get the best out of the player and leave the team in a better place than what it was before he coached it. And for me, it's just been an honor to be coached under him. I've definitely learned a lot and grown a lot as a player. And he's definitely someone, like I said, he's someone that's very calm. Just really gets his points clear to the team and how we want to play and the structure that he wants us to follow.
Where would you say this Saints team is compared to the great ones you've played in, Jonny? Is it arguably the best?
It's a funny question, because obviously you're kind of always going to be based upon accolades and I think Saturday will go a long way to deciding that. I think kind of obviously we've done really well in the league and winning the league Leaders' Shield, and I think that's something that probably goes by the wayside, and rightly or wrongly so. For Justin to have taken over when he did and done what he's done already for this team, and winning it last year and then winning it this year by the 16 points is a reflection of him. But kind of that's not what teams are now based on. They're not based on the rewards of the league Leaders' Shield, and so probably that'll be something that might be reviewed later down the line and be seen as a good achievement that it is, in that consistent achievement. But ultimately, it is a fantastic side to be a part of. But a lot of it's going to be down to what happens on Saturday is going to be how we're perceived by others.
Can we finish, do you think, with an exchange of sort of really aggressive words or something between you two guys?
Just me and Jonny.
Yeah.
Do you not fancy saying it? Do you not fancy saying it to
Prick.
Kev?
No, I don't know Kev as well.
Bottleless.
We go way back, so you're a bottleless guy.
It must be weird though, because you guys know each other so well.
Yeah,
You
Johnny's
said
a
to me
good meta, man.
But you said to me before that you'll have a chat and a joke with him now, but on game day,
Yeah, on
it's a different
game day it's
story.
different, because I don't think anyone likes interacting with opponents before a match. But
So you don't even want to catch his eye on game day.
I just ignore him, yeah. But now and then until Friday, like I'd always have a chat with Johnny. He's a good mate of mine. We had some good times together at Saints, and on a slightly different note, I think Johnny is the most professional player I've ever played with. He's had that many hardships obviously through his skull problem that he's had and 3 knee reconstructions, and is the most dedicated player I've ever played with, and it's a testament to him that he's played for his country, and he's probably been one of the most dominant players in the competition this year. And as a mate, it's great to see him back on the stage where he belongs, because I know he had some really dark times there when he was struggling with injury, and he's a credit to himself. And I still want to bang him on Saturday and knock him around a fair bit, but I think when you look back in your career, you look back at the relationships you've made with players and some of the times you've had, and Jonny and I go way back, and it's be great to take the field with him.
It's going to be cracking. I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be what a dynamic, as we touched on before. What an arena there behind us to do it all. You can come and throw eggs, fruit at me on the pitch if you bring them out. I think, can you get eggs and fruit into the stadium? I'm not sure. So I'm going to be hosting on the pitch, but you're not going to be with us, but we're going to be doing a podcast at 4:00 on the Saturday in the Northern Monk Beer Garden. How
sounds
about that?
exciting. Great beer, isn't it?
Great
Northern
beer.
Monk.
Great beer. I think Vernon Kay is going to be with us.
Is it?
Yeah, I think so. We've upgraded you, and also you can download the podcast out of your league wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's iTunes, Podbean. Don't know where else people get them from. Watch us on YouTube, Spotify. I don't think you can do that. You can get them on YouTube as well. And we're going to speak to you, little buggers, later.
Later.